morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, whatever time it is that you're listening to this video. I just have to tell you, I am so excited about your progress with your first day on Premiere Pro. I think you did amazing as students. I went home and I was just so excited about your progress. I'm really hoping that you're enjoying learning Premiere Pro because it is one of my very favorite things to do is to sit and edit videos in the assembly workspace. I think it's a great spot to begin the whole process. I prefer also to work in the thumbnail view instead of the list view. The thumbnail view, I can see all of my pieces, their names. It makes it a little easier for me. Our beginning sequence should definitely be something the star of PB&J. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to see how long this is. It is 2 seconds. Well, I'm going to bring this back and I'm going to make it like 1 second long. And this is what we call reducing your footage. You can reduce it in size by using this little, you can trim it. Okay. If we want to trim it to like 1 second, we might put our little time code and we'll look up here on this little area right here to where it's 100. That's 1 second. So I'm going to trim this down to exactly 1 second, or I can just put in here 100, enter. And that's going to put my, this is called a timeline indicator at 1 second. And then I can move this right down to the line on the timeline indicator to 1 second. Now, I am going to go ahead and have for fun, I'm going to click on another image of my peanut butter and jelly, and I'm going to play it, or you can press the space bar to play it. And I'm going to set my endpoints and my outpoints. Okay, endpoints and outpoints. You can use your brackets, or you can use I for endpoint or O for outpoints on here. I'm just going to bring down the video. I'm not bringing down the audio. Okay, that was more than 1 second, and I want this to be exactly 1 second. So I'm going to go 200, enter, and that's going to put my timeline indicator at the 2 second spot. And now I know I can trim all of that off, and that's exactly how much I want. So I've got 2 seconds of footage in my timeline, and I can play that. I can go like this. So that's the bread. The bread is the next step. So I'm going to double click on the bread. And I'm going to do something kind of fun here. This is called rack focus when it's blurry and then it comes into focus. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to go boom, boom. Okay, I'm going to grab that, bring it on down. I'm showing you how to kind of put these clips in here. All right, you're going to go through and you're going to put all of your clips in, and you have to do them in sequential order. So the next thing would be to open the peanut butter, right? So I'm going to open my peanut butter. So I'm going to kind of leave that there, and you guys are going to go ahead and continue putting all of your steps in, thinking about the different camera angles and making it look good. You don't have to make it a second long. You can make it a half a second. You can make it 2 seconds long. However long you feel you need to create to use it. You don't have to use all 3 of the video footage. Your movie does not have to look like mine. Make your video look like what you want it to. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about these things over here and what they are. These are your different tracks. So we have video 1 track, video 2 track, video 3 track. And you can actually add even more tracks here. And we'll get into talking about how to add more tracks and what you might possibly need them for. You're going to put tracks like your green screen effects and video overlays here. And you're going to put graphics and titles and captions and all kinds of sorts of stuff on these tracks up here, which makes your video more interesting and exciting sometimes. Then down here, you'll have layers and layers of audio. So maybe you have music, you have voiceover layer, you have sound effect layer, all of the above. Okay, so these are your different tracks. All right, next thing for you to learn about is the wonderful Command Z. Like if you make a mistake and say you make this way too long and it's not what you wanted and you wanted to go back to undo something, you just go Command Z and it'll bring it back to the previous step that you created. I use Command Z a lot. Edit undo is what it's called. Okay. The next thing that we want to talk about is how to just move through your timeline here. So say we're in the middle of the timeline, you have the up and down arrows on your keyboard. If you go up, it moves you toward the beginning of the track, to the beginning of the movie or the video. If you press the down arrow, it takes you from one segment to the next, all the way to the end of your track. Okay, so you can use your up and down arrow as a keyboard shortcut to move through your track. Another thing you can do is you can just use the timeline indicator. You can click on it and drag it anywhere on your track that you would like to be, or anywhere on your video. Okay, and you can stop it there. Another thing you can do is you can press L and it'll start playing it forward. Okay, you can also press J and it'll play it backwards. And you can press K and it'll pause it and start it, stop and start it. Okay, K will pause it, which is kind of cool. I like all those little keyboard shortcuts. They will make your life easier if you write them down and save them somewhere on a sheet of paper, all the keyboard shortcuts that you're going to learn, because it makes the editing go faster as you go through this process. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to talk about is this wonderful thing down here. You can expand this line out and make it longer, and as you expand it out, it makes your whole video smaller, so that if you have a really long, large video, it'll compress it down to where you can move through it faster. Sometimes you really need to make it look much bigger, and you need to stretch it all out so you can see frame by frame, second by second. And those are different things that you can do. So you need to practice using this little stretchy bar down here, and expand it and contract it so that you can learn how to use that for your editing. So that's kind of how to navigate through the timeline. This is like your time code. Remember, we talked about time code instead of frame rate and frame numbers. And so I think it's better to keep the time 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, all the way, instead of using frame number 200, frame number 350, whatever. It's just easier to go by second. Okay. Next thing for you. So you want to get a closer look of this. Maybe you want to enlarge that timeline and work very delicately with it. There's a tilde key, which is right below the escape button on your keyboard. If you press that, it will make whatever panel you are in full screen. Ooh, that's pretty cool, Mrs. Dobmeyer, but now how do I get out of it? You just press the tilde key again, and it will bring you back to your interface, your Premiere Pro interface here. So let me show you that again. So I'm on my program monitor where I'm looking at my actual video, and I want to look at the video in full screen and see what it looks like. I press the tilde key, and I can press the space bar, and I can start playing my video. Okay. Some cool new things that you might want to learn how to use. Let's talk about some of these tools over here. Okay, this is your selection tool. You will use it to select clips. Selecting, it will highlight it. As you can see, it's white. When I highlight it, that means that clip right there, Premiere Pro, whatever you do is working on that clip. Now, if I highlight this, I am in my program monitor. If I highlight over here, I am in my project panel. If I highlight over here, I am in my timeline. So your highlight will show you what panel you are working in, okay? Or your highlight, whatever you select, okay, will be your selection that you are working on. So you always have to make sure you're watching what you're selecting. So if you're changing it up, you know that it's doing what you want it to do. If I have something selected, I always try to have my timeline indicator over what it is I have selected, because if I'm going to make a change, I want to see it in my program monitor up here. So make sure you have your timeline indicator on whatever it is you select. That's just a tip from me to you on what I do. All right, next thing. So we have, we can take this little thing, your selection tool, and you can move these all out, okay? And you can put them anywhere you want to. You can put them on different tracks. You can move them all around, okay? And then it makes all these black spaces between each clip. Sometimes people use black space, and it's okay to have some blank space. Sometimes you don't want the blank space. And if you don't want the blank space, you right-click in the blank space, and you use Ripple Delete. Let's say you have multiple blank spaces and you want to get rid of all of those blank spaces in your video clip. You can go select or Command A to select your entire sequence, and then you can come up to sequence, and then you can say close gap, and it'll close all the gaps for you. Now let's go back and move some of these things back out again. Okay, and let's talk about how we can trim a clip. So maybe you have this really, really long clip and you want to cut it. You can use your razor and you can cut your clips anywhere you want to. And you can go back, grab your selection tool, click on it, and delete. So you can even cut in the middle of a clip. Make 2 cuts, delete the center, and then put those 2 pieces together. Okay, so you can do all kinds of things using your razor tool. You can cut off music, sound, cut out things, put things in, etc. All right, so let's go back and use our Ripple Delete, or we can just go sequence, close gaps. Make this back down to 1 second. All right, next thing for you. Let's talk about the Ripple Edit tool. Okay, this is see how this has a little arrow right here? That means that there are nested tools. That means that's not just one tool, there's other tools inside that. So if I click on it and I hold it, you'll see all of the tools inside this nested tool. So we're going to use the Ripple Edit tool. And I'm going to show you when you put this right here and you go like that, it's going to kind of like move into one tool. Pardon me, let's show you. When you Ripple Edit, it moves the whole sequence. Okay? And it changes the length of the film. Now let's use the Rolling Edit tool. Rolling Edit, if you move it, you're going to just move. It just changes the length of the clip, but it doesn't change the length of the film. So practice using that, okay, so that you can figure out what those things are. We'll talk about the rate stretch tool a little bit later. I'll go ahead and show you the rate stretch tool. You can, basically move things with the rate stretch tool. Okay. All right, so we've talked about the razor tool, we've talked about the Ripple Edit tool, we've talked about the rolling edit tool. Those are some tools that you're going to use. Now, I love this tool here. This is called your track selection forward. So I use this one a lot. So like if I wanted to put something right here between these 2 clips, I would just select this clip and I would push everything forward, and it pushes your whole mid video forward. Or you could do the same thing by pulling it all backwards at the same time. Okay, it's not working quite right. Let me see here. All right, so it won't work at the moment. So we want to go like this. Ripple Delete. There we go. Okay, I think I have taught you everything that I wanted you to learn today. So please take the time to play with those tools and get your timeline together with all of your videos in there. And next class, we will talk about more. Have a great day.